Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of Growth Engineering Podcast. My name is Dima Popov. I am one of the co-founders here at Tomi.ai. And my guest today is an experienced marketer, most recently Chief Marketing Officer of an awesome tech startup called Osome. Welcome, Vlad.
Hello, everyone.
Good to have you here. So, first of all, I want to start the conversation by asking, how come did you become a marketer?
So it was by chance, you could say. I have a financial and consulting background, and I worked in investment banking and the Big Four consulting. And I joined the travel tech startup in Eastern Europe that was looking for structured minds to help it grow and structure it. And all of us became analysts that helped out with different spheres of business. And I was assigned to retention marketing, email loyalty, and retargeting. And over time, it turned out that the team that they brought in from consulting and investment banking could do the job even better than people that were there before. And eventually they handed over these channels to me. I enjoyed it quite a bit because I'm a results-driven person. And in a startup in marketing, you really see the result of your work relatively fast.
Yeah. Interesting. So you didn't study marketing or didn't have any educational background on the topic before actually becoming a practitioner?
Not formally. I read some books about positioning, traditional marketing, etc. But I learned on the job largely, and I kept on taking more and more channels until eventually I took over all of marketing at the company before Osome. And at Osome, I also came back to take over marketing after taking a little bit of a partnerships break.
Was there any particular book or maybe a short-term program or maybe an online course that stood out to you in terms of the value of the knowledge per amount of time?
Yes. One book that stands out, I unfortunately don't remember the author, but I remember the name is Positioning. And it details how great companies position themselves. And then it talks about the wars between Pepsi and Cola and how they use marketing where the product is very similar, but they use marketing to differentiate and capture market share. That one is very good.
Jack Trout, by chance?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a fun one to read. I like the main idea that good positioning means turning your weakness into your strength.
Yes.
It's a relatively unconventional thinking. At least it occurred to me that way 10 years ago or something when I read this.
So as I was saying, Positioning is a great book that I got to read before I was actually doing marketing myself. And I consider it to be a good, easily digestible introduction to marketing, because to most people on the outside, marketing looks like just ads and you don't understand what the impact strategy and the gist of it is. And that book is really good for a layman and it gets you interested in marketing. Then on a more technical side, I find Reforge programs to be very relevant for people working at startups. I completed a few programs a year ago, and they were literally talking about the same things that I talk about with my colleagues. So extremely relevant. And I tried a few.
Awesome.
Some programs from major universities as well, like those executive marketing strategy style programs. They were less relevant because they were more top line strategic, but I really needed something that would provide frameworks. And Reforge is great for that if you're looking for a program that really helps you structure your thinking and give you specific tools.
Awesome. I attended the strategic marketing executive program at Stanford, I don't know, 7 years ago or something. It was good, but I totally agree with you that traditional executive education is more about executive than actually marketing practice and more about strategy than something you can utilize right away. How long have you been with Osome so far?
5 years now.
Wow.
So quite a while. It's the longest.
That's quite a lot, especially in the startup world. That's quite a journey. Can you tell us a little bit more about Osome, what it does, and what makes it unique?
Yes, apart from the name, which I think was a great choice by the founder, Victor.
Yeah.
We are a fintech company, and we work in the field of accounting, tax, and compliance automation. Basically, what we do is we help you set up your company and run all accounting and admin tasks inside our platform on the web or on your mobile phone. And we have software with humans in the loop that provide a full service. Basically, you send us the documents and you get all your compliance work done pretty fast in a way that makes communication very easy. We're originally from Singaporean company, and we also operate in Hong Kong and the UK. So any companies that are set up in these jurisdictions, we can work with.
Okay, interesting. British Commonwealth.
Yes,
Looking forward for you to expand to Australia or something.
One day. It's a similar market to the UK.
Interesting. Can you share maybe one or two of the most valuable lessons you learned while growing Osome's business and scaling the marketing function in this particular environment?
One valuable lesson for me is you're probably more critical of yourself than you're over criticizing yourself, I would say, because every time we look at competitors and we find some insider data about them, we find out that we're actually a lot better off than we thought. So that's something to think about, because I think it's good to be critical because it drives you forward and gets you to achieve more, but it should not put you down and discourage you, right? You should not think, oh, our competitors are doing so much better, because in reality, everybody has the same struggles and you're probably better than them actually, which for us was the case, where we found out that we are a lot bigger or a lot faster or have a lot better service, etc. And that's a good learning that allows you to shift your mindset from maybe something negative to something more positive.
So when you compare yourself and the service you're building or the product you're building to the ideal picture in your head, that's probably not the most useful framework of reference, because it puts you in a more negative mood or attitude, so to say, than the situation actually deserves. Interesting.
Yes,
Okay.
That was a big one, and it helps you shift your mindset. Another one would be start with product. I think that you need to have a great product or product service combination or whatever else. In our case, it's product plus service to really scale. Marketing can only take you that far. You can have the best SEO optimization, the best ads, amazing web landing pages, etc. And there's always something to optimize. In my opinion, though, to truly scale, especially in a subscription-based business like ours, you need to provide great product plus service, because you will grow organically over time much faster than you would otherwise by increasing Google or Facebook budgets.
And in your experience, how do you go about building a great product that the customers will love? Do you need to do some customer research, like jobs to be done interviews, or you're leaning more toward a visionary, so to say, school of thought, like Steve Jobs didn't ask anyone if they want an iPhone. If he would, they probably say, probably not. We need like bigger Nokias, more buttons or something like that. BlackBerry was big back in the day. So I'm curious to hear what's your thinking, how to get to this point where your product is actually delivering such a great experience.
That's a good question. And I think it's a combination. I think to have a company that can grow and scale, you need to have a great vision that is different from what is on the market. And I think customer interviews, research really comes into play when you start implementing, because you have a grand vision, but once you get to the details, that is what will matter. You need to make sure that what you're building is relevant for the people, because if I describe things vaguely and in a grand way, everybody would love it. But once you get to the product, it might not be something that people would use. That's where the research team comes in, or the product teams themselves. They would talk to the potential clients or existing clients and try to understand what people actually like and how we can tune the specific features to fit with the vision and their needs.
Interesting. So do you think as a startup, obviously product is at the center of what you're doing, but when does marketing come into play? So the interesting point you're making is that making sure your research is sound and that your customers have a clear vision of what you're building, so you're not just reacting to the grand vision. I really like that point. So the next logical question for me is, imagine you're a startup founder and you obviously need to build the product. When do you need to hire marketing so those teams can work hand in hand? Can you afford to hire marketing and invest in marketing on a later stage, or is it critical for those two teams to work hand in hand from the get-go?
That's a good question. And I think that in most cases that I've seen, marketing comes in somewhat later than product. At the very early stages of a startup, either the founder does sales, depending on the business, if it's a B2B or enterprise, or even B2C, you can do some sales yourself. And then you would bring in marketing to do performance marketing ads. Usually you would not do anything complex, and then you would scale from there. In that sense, marketing could come a little bit later, because you need to start with product right away. And if you see any traction, then marketing comes into scale and positioning. I would say first product and marketing in that sense.
Interesting. One other area, which is basically the most adjacent product, the area of the marketing that I see a lot of companies and startups struggle with, is product marketing. And by product marketing, first and foremost, being able to speak about your value proposition in a way that truly resonates with your target audience. And this is an area where we at Tommy.ai had faced a lot of difficulty. And I see a lot of companies out there, even if they have great products, some of them are like true visionaries, but being able to put it in simple words and communicate it clearly and in an engaging manner is a huge challenge. So I wonder, what do you think about product marketing? And maybe you can share some hacks you came up with over the course of your career, because that's such an area that is much less sexy than performance marketing or brand marketing. But for the success, especially for a startup, in my opinion, it's one of the most critical components.
It's a very important part of the team, and there are many different ways to go about it. In some teams we've spoken to other companies, product marketing actually drives the full marketing function because everything is tied to specific product features. In some teams, product marketing is just basically communicating what has been rolled out already. In some teams, product marketing is part of the strategic planning process, and they do research as well and tell you what you should probably implement. So I think the first trick is to try to understand and agree on what approach is right for the company. And in that sense, of course, you need the founder or whoever leads the company. You need your leader of product and leader of marketing to all agree on the rules of the game, because without that agreement and communication, there will be issues, because product marketing sits in between product and marketing, and they're going to be caught between two opposing sides sometimes, because of course marketing sometimes is unhappy with product speed and quality, product is unhappy with marketing speed and quality, and that's a normal part of life in a startup. Agreement and communication is most important. And then I think also that another important thing in my experience is to have somebody that is quite experienced with the company doing product marketing, ideally somebody who's been there for a while, right? Maybe they've done something else, but they also have product marketing experience, because they really have the values of the company embedded in them, and they have a good understanding of the vision by that point. And I feel like it's easier for a person from inside the company to transition to product marketing than to hire somebody externally who will come in and then do more of a technical job. Right? They know how to do it, but they might not know the company, the product, the vision, all the details that you might need to know when you're dealing with 15, 20 product teams and multiple marketing sub teams and a legacy.
So you're feeling that having this intricate knowledge of both product and customer pains that the product is actually solving is actually more important than the technical skills of a product marketer. I don't know, effective written communication, doing customer interviews and stuff like that. You can teach this easier and faster than this insight into the soul of your company, so to say. Is it fair to say this?
I think customer interview technique you can teach. Effective written communication is more tricky. It is, in my opinion, it's easier to transition to product marketing from like a copywriter or leading website type of a position. And that's what we've done at our company. Our head of product marketing has been doing copy, started off doing copy for Osome. She has a marketing and management background as well. And then she ran the website for a while. So she was basically doing product marketing. They were trying to tell leads and clients what the product is already, right? And then it was a natural transition towards working closer with the product team to try to help them to structure their messaging better across other channels, or try to help them out with planning as well. I think that works. I think a content background is helpful, but that content background and that person needs to be willing to step up, because not every copywriter wants to do more. Some just want to write.
Yeah, I totally agree. if you were to give one advice to your fellow tech CMOs about, I don't know, some strategy or tactic that worked exceptionally well for you at Osome, so they should consider implementing something similar in their company, what this advice to your fellow CMOs be?
I would say my advice would be do less but better. In a startup
Focus.
environment, when you're a marketing team and you're under pressure, sometimes there can be a tendency to try a lot of things because psychologically it makes people feel calmer, or you put yourself at ease when you say, hey, I tried 10 things, right?
I feel so busy. I barely
feel
have
busy,
time to
yes.
wipe the sweat off my forehead or something.
But then you shift focus from results to actions. And nobody really
Being
cares
busy.
how much you do and what you do. People care about results. And what I found to be important and what I try to strive towards and push the team towards is to commit to doing less, but something that we feel we will be able to do well. Because oftentimes when you overcommit or you commit to do 20 different projects, what you find out is that half you haven't even touched, a quarter you somewhat did, but they haven't gotten us any results. And the Pareto principle, the 20% is what they gave you results anyways. So that's the trick, because that can help you to keep budgets low, and that can help you get to results without 24/7.
Yeah, focusing, being more agile, and making sure you put in quality work rather than busy work into what you're
Yes.
doing. That truly resonates with me, for example, and with the situation I've seen with our customers as well. Thank you for sharing that. Maybe one final question. Maybe you can share, and that's totally up to you, it's not obligatory, some kind of mistake or a failure or a disappointment that you faced during your journey at Osome, something you wish you would have done differently. And I don't mean it in just negative way, because mistakes, especially in startup environment, they are bound to happen. But there is some behavioral research that it's easier to learn from somebody else's mistakes than from your own, because you are just less emotionally attached to just what happened, and it's easier for people to spot imperfections and things to improve in somebody else's work than their own. So I think it might be extremely valuable for our listeners today if you could share one of the experiences like this, so they can learn from you a little bit faster than making the same mistakes of their own.
Sure, no problem. The mistake or learning experience is tied to the one trick, right? Why focus is important for me is because I went through it myself with the team where we lacked focus. And we do a quarterly planning cycle at Osome. And for several quarters, we committed to do so much. And it made us feel so good about it, right? We came and presented to everybody that we're going to do so much, we're going to change the world over in a quarter. And over time, we found out that is just not possible, right? We were not critical enough at the planning stage. We were stretched to the limit during the execution phase. And when we had a review of the results, we saw that multiple projects or tasks were just not done because we did not have time, or there were contingencies that we did not plan for, etc. And that just made us slower because we multitask, we switch between different projects, right? It's always on your mind that you have 20 projects instead of one, which makes you less efficient. And we just overpromised and underdelivered for a bit. And we changed that by really being more aggressive around planning and trying to be critical about what we will be able to do, what we will not be able to do, how fast we want to do something, especially when it doesn't depend on us, right? Sometimes you're waiting for product, you're waiting for analytics, you're waiting for whatever else. And you might not want to overcommit to do something today if product will do it in 3 months. And that helped us to keep ourselves lean, have less headaches, and achieve more results. Basically, being more critical at the planning stage will save you a lot of headache later on. I think a lot of people underestimate how important planning is. You have to do it for a week or so, or 2 weeks or whatever at the end of the quarter, and then the rest of the next quarter will feel much easier.
Yeah, I agree. There is a tendency that you need to run as fast as you can just to stay at the same place, much like in a famous book. But in fact, if you don't spend quality time thinking and planning ahead, you're just only getting behind. By the way, one of the follow-up questions that came to my mind, in your experience, what is the sweet spot on the number of priorities to work on simultaneously for any given direct report? I assume you as a CMO have multiple direct reports, and obviously you have to juggle multiple priorities just because of your position and since you're responsible for a big department. But your direct reports, how many priorities or priority projects do you feel they should be working simultaneously before they ship one priority project and start another? What's your experience with that?
I like to stick to the number of 3. I think that works well. So up to 3 projects seems manageable. If somebody sends me a list of 25 things they're looking to do this week, then either they're sending me their whole to-do and shopping list, or they just are not able to prioritize and point out what is really important. I think up to 3 is enough for any given
3
person.
priorities at a time, no more.
Yeah.
Okay. It's been very exciting to have you. Thank you so much for sharing all this practical experience and wisdom. We're so glad to have you, and hopefully you can come in a few months again and we can pick another interesting topic.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome.
Have a great day.
Have a great day too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.